First of all, I wanted to thank Science in Action and Science on Stage to give us the opportunity to present our work to many teachers from Europe. We love learning from them, and I hope they can pick up any of our ideas to implement in their schools. Our project, the project we have been developing with primary school students goes under the big name of astrobiology. Astrobiology is a multidisciplinary science that covers various aspects of traditional sciences. According to NASA, it should give answer or study three different questions. First of all, how life has started on the Earth and how it has evolved. Second, should search for life and understand if life exists in other parts of the universe. And third, would be give an answer to how life is going to evolve in our planet and if any terrestrial organism would be able to survive outside our planet. The project that we have been developed was started with year 3 and year 4 students, and for a couple of years we've been carrying it out in our school, and every year we have given them a little bit more depth into astrobiology. The first part of the project was, first of all, because the kids were very young, an introduction to astronomy. Then we introduced them to the concept of habitable zone. And finally, we did a comparative study between Mars and Earth to see if human astronauts could survive on Mars. So let's go with the first part of the project, the introduction to astronomy. For this introduction, we follow the book Sidereus Nuncius by Galileo Galilei. In this book, Galileo uses the scientific method to study the solar system. He draws his observations. He checks with his telescope his ideas. So, because of the innovation of using the scientific method to astronomy, we thought it was ideal for the young students to enter this new world of astronomy. So in this part of the project, we studied technology and instruments, the movement of the moon, the surface of the moon, and difference between Earth and the moon. So for technology and instrument, first thing we did was present the students telescopes. We're very lucky in our school, and we have a couple of telescopes. So we show them what instruments astronomers use to study the universe. We also bought a telescope similar to the one Galileo used in his observations, so the kids could learn how technology has evolved in the last 400 years, 500 years. Once they were familiar with the telescopes, we took them to the courtyard to do the first moon observations. And first of all, we did it in the morning, and then we invite them in the evening to the school to do nocturnal observations. We asked them to draw what they were observing and also to take pictures of what they were observing. Obviously, we had a portfolio to back all the observations of the kid to follow the students in what they had to do. So these are the pictures of the moon that the students took. And obviously, the kids, without realizing, had to look for the moon above the horizon. So every day, they have to look for the moon in a different place in the horizon. And they saw the moon changing from one phase to another. So they saw how the moon is not the same along the month. And so that gave us a starting point to teach them the movement of the moon, the sun, and the earth. Okay. These are the pictures that the kids did in their observations. In the center of the image, there is a photograph of the moon, and above it is the drawing that Galileo did during his observations. The rest are the pictures of our students. As you can see, the main thing in these pictures is the terminator, which is the line that separates the lit part of the moon and the dark part of the moon. it's not a straight line, it's like wavy line. And this is because they see that the moon has an irregular surface. It's not a perfect object. It has mountains, has craters, it has different aspects on its surface. That wasn't before Galileo. The moon was considered to be a perfect surface. Okay. After explaining them the movement of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, we asked the kids to do like a model of the faces of the Moon. So some kids brought to the school some Oreo biscuits. Some of them brought some rice biscuits. Some children brought mandarins, and they had to model how the Moon is changing along every day, a little bit every day of the month. We did like a selenoscope, so the kids could see that we can predict how the moon is going to look every day. And this is the part that they love the most. These irregularities in the surface of the moon are due mainly to meteorite craters. So we explained to them what a meteorite is and how a meteorite can make these massive craters on the surface of a celestial body. Daniela, please, if you can play the video. To do these simulations, we use firecrackers, okay? Because the energy that the firecrackers release is more similar to the ones that an explosion made by a meteorite falling on a high speed to the surface of a planet. If you just drop a stone or a marble or a ball, the energy release is not enough to make a proper crater. So the firecrackers is a good way of making crater simulations. To finish this first part of the project, we asked our literature teacher to write a play based on The Little Prince, Galileo, and the Wonderful World of Sidereus Nuncius. In this play, we had the Little Prince exploring the solar system, guided by Galileo. The fox was the old theories of the universe and was contradicting Galileo and the Little Prince all the time. And then some kids were the different planets. We have a sun, we have the seasons. So they could perform all the things that they have learned during this project. The second part of our project starts by asking the kids, when you observe the moon, what is what you can see on the moon that you don't see on Earth, and vice versa? What do we have on Earth that it doesn't exist on the moon? And that answer is life. There is no life on the moon. And so we ask them, what is life? And what does life need to exist? And one of the things that comes to mind is liquid water. So this second part of the project deals with the importance of water for life to exist. The habitable zone is the zone is considered the distance from a star at which liquid water could exist on the surface of orbiting planets. During this second part of astrobiology, we focus on water and life. We study the water cycle, the importance of having clean water for the organisms, and what is polluted water. What happens if you use polluted water to water plants or feed animals or give water to animals. We show them also the capillarity phenomenon, and also we took them to the lab and we showed them the life in a droplet of water. Because if you want to look for life, you don't have to look for massive of water, big surfaces with water. A little drop is enough to find many organisms swimming on it. When we were looking for water in different objects from the solar system, we found that the kids don't understand perspective. Obviously, we have to rely on the photographs given by the satellites to see the effects, if there is any water, or if there is any remain or any mark on the terrain that tells us there used to be water. So first of all, we had to teach the kids perspective using normal objects like books or glasses or pencils. We show them the different objects have different views. Depending from where you view, look at the object looks different. And once they got used to perspective, we show them pictures of different geographical part of the Earth and Mars, for instance, mountains, how the mountains look when you are next to them, you see them from your height, or how they look when you see them from above. The same with craters, rivers, beaches, sands, dunes, etc. So the kid got used to interpret the images given by satellites. So once they knew how to look for or interpret these images, we asked them what kind of terrains you have to look. And for instance, on Mars, on the Moon, to see if there used to be water. And obviously there would be dunes and caves. So we showed them how to make dunes and caves. We took a tray with sand and we made some, we put them on an angle and we irrigate them with water so they could see how the water runs down and then it gets dry, but they leave like a permanent mark on the terrain. And the same with the dunes. If you blow, you put a pebble on a tray with sand and you blow with a little straw, you make dunes. And also you can see that dunes will look different if the strength of the wind changes and the direction of the wind also indicates you the different dunes. At this point of the project, we found a report written by some Chinese scientists saying that they wanted to hatch some silkworm eggs on the moon. So we wondered if insects were the best terrestrial organisms to be the first settlers on the moon, the first organisms to be born on the moon. And so we launched the challenge of the 5 kingdoms. In this challenge, we tested the survival of organisms that belong to the 5 kingdoms of nature: bacteria, algae, yeast, mosses, legumes, and silkworms. We changed the conditions of light and temperature, and we observed if they were still alive or they were dead. For bacteria and yeast, what we did was we used yogurt bacteria, and for yeast we made bread. So if the yogurt was formed, the bacteria was still alive. If the bread, the flour rised, is because the yeast was still alive. So they could compare all the 5 kingdoms of nature for light, temperature, and a need of food. And obviously they discover the bacteria are the more resistant and the most adaptable. So if you find life on another planet, probably it would be bacteria. And with that, we reach the third part of our project. Aeronauts, a survival guide of Martian lands, is a project that we wrote as a globalized didactic unit. What we did is we took the science book of these students, we saw the subjects that they had to cover during this year, and we wrote a project in which our students were experts on Mars, and they were advising the future astronauts, that's why we call them aeronauts, that they were going to land on Mars to see what were the dangers they would encounter on Mars. So these are students giving advices to an astronaut that had landed on Mars. So for this project, what we did was we studied the internal structure and the atmospheres of Earth and Mars, and the kids made models with plasticine and with paper. We also studied the different climates that you find on Mars and on Earth. We studied also the importance of the UV radiation and the ozone layer to protect us from it. And that we linked it with health, how important it is to protect yourself from sun radiation, both your eyes and your skin. We also study the greenhouse effect gases. For that, we fill some bottles with different gases like butane, carbon dioxide, also liquid water, and normal air. And we measure the temperature when exposed to the sun, and the kids have to draw the different temperatures in a half an hour period. And we also study the magnetic fields. Magnetic field on Earth protects us from the solar wind. Mars used to have a magnetic field, but now this field is only a remnant in the south hemisphere of the planet. So still is a little bit left there, but not enough to protect Mars like our sort of magnetic field protects us from radiations. Finally, we went back to craters. If you see the surface of Mars, you can notice that in some areas you see a lot of craters, in some other areas there are hardly craters. So that could be because it used to be an ocean. So we taught the kids that meteorite impacting on water will leave a different mark than if they impact on soil. In conclusion, we think that when we teach children science, particularly using learning-based projects, it is very important that the content that we're covering covers a big part of the curriculum, so the kids it doesn't involve an extra work for the students, and also it has to have an attractive approach. We believe that astrobiology does that because, first of all, it's an interdisciplinary science. In our project, we have talked about biology, geology, mathematics, physics, chemistry, astronomy, technology. There's so many sciences, even philosophy, okay? Also allows the students to develop their imagination because everybody wants to be an astronaut at a point or another in our lives. And also space exploration is a topical subject. It is very embedded in our society. People talk about it. It hits, space exploration hits national news from time to time. So it's something that is, the kids hear about it from time to time. To finish my presentation, I would like to leave you with a sentence written by Jay Burgess in his book, Teach Like a Parrot. He says that if we provide an uncommon experience to our students, they will reward us with an uncommon effort and attitude. So here we are trying to do it at least. So thank you so much for your attention.
There is already a question in the chat about the firecrackers you used, because there were some comments that
the firecrackers were the smallest one that we could find.
And did you have any problems about the
very no, because obviously the kids were assisted, and when they were very young, we didn't let them to lit the firecrackers. They saw us introducing the firecrackers on the surface of our planet that was made with either cement or flour is the best powders that we could find to do the simulations. We were the ones lighting them. They were nearby because they wanted to hear it and see it, but we didn't allow them to touch them. It was us who did it.
Okay. And another question is about the age of the students. I think because sometimes classes vary what third year is in each country.
We started with they were 7 years old. We started with them 7 till 10, more or less. That's the 3 stages of the project. We did it around these ages, 7 to 10 years old, because some of our students, brothers or sisters, wanted to follow our project, and they also were included. Although they weren't in the same classroom, they also did it with us. So 7, 10, 11, that's the age of the students. So,
is there a place where we can find your great material? Do you have this online somewhere, or is there?
We don't actually. We always think that we have to do every year. This year we have to make a web page and upload our projects. But if somebody is interested, I can send it to them. We have written the English. We have all the portfolios. We have everything. So if somebody wants them, I'm happy to send it to them. There's no problem.
Yeah. So get in contact with Maria or with us, and we will forward your
Exactly.
email.